So today we're going to be looking at political culture and try to understand what this concept is and how it's applied in the broader society. We are going to look at this from the definition standpoint to provide some foundational understanding of what this concept means. Now, this concept was floated by Gabriel Almond and Sidney Verba. These are political scientists of all times that have studied their discipline and have works that really capture a lot of the concepts and theories of the discipline of political science. Gabriel Almond and Sidney Verba have written extensively on this particular subject of political culture. Now, let's take a look at this from the definition standpoint. The question is, what is political culture? Right? And I'm sure that you've read up on it and you have a good understanding of what this concept is about, political culture. And so we begin with the definition, which says that it's a set of shared views, right? So let's take a look at this closely. So a set, right? A set of shared views. Now, what does that mean when we say a set of shared views? It means that we have views in society about the political system, about governance and the government that is shared. So, for example, it could be democracy, right? It could be democracy as a view or a value in society that is shared. It could be human rights. Let's put that here as well, right? It could be human rights, right? This is human rights. It could be a whole host of things. It could be free speech. It could be freedom of religion and what have you, right? So a set of shared views and normative judgments, right? So let's put that here as well. So normative judgments. Now, what does that mean? Normative judgments, right? So judgments that we make about society. And we all make judgments about society. We have an opinion about democracy, about our government, about taxation, about the economy. We have opinion about foreign policy. We have opinions about domestic policies. And we have opinions about individual politicians and collectively the political class. So we make normative judgments, and those judgments in many ways guide our perspective on governance and on government and on politicians and policymakers and lawmakers, on the executive and what have you, right? So what is political culture? A set of shared views and normative judgments that are held by a society, that are held by a group of people, that are held by a community, that are held by people of a nation, right? So a set of views and normative judgments held by society. So please take note of that, all right? Held by society. So please take note of this point. It's very important to provide a foundational understanding of what this concept is. Now, according to Gabriel Almond and Sidney Verba, there are three categories of citizens when we talk about political culture in terms of their understanding and their participation, their level of participation in governance and in society and exercising their civil rights, right? So three types of citizens. The first one is parochial citizens. The second one is participants. And the third one is subject. So let's take a look at the first one, parochial. People who don't care about politics. Simply don't care about politics. They go about their daily lives. They wake up in the morning. They brush their teeth, have breakfast. They say goodbye to their families. They go off to their work. It could be working at a factory or manufacturing job. It could be working at retail industry. It could be working in the health, education industry, whatever the case may be. But they don't give any care, right, about the politics, right? So they don't watch the news when it comes to politics. They don't read the newspaper when it comes to politics. They are not on social media. SM is for social media. And they're trying to understand what this politician is saying and what that politician is saying, what the latest policies are and the latest laws are. They're not really, don't pay attention to those things. They don't care. Simply, right? They are parochial, according to Gabriel, Almond, and Sidney Verba. They are parochial people who don't care about politics. They care about other things. And they know that politics eventually impacts them, but they don't care about it. They say, this is somebody else's business. I'll go to work, come back to my family, and watch the evening news and see what's going on in my community. Not necessarily about politics, but just general. Have dinner and go to bed. Spend time perhaps with the family and go to bed. Simply don't care about politics. So they are, right, detached. These individuals are detached from the political reality of society. Simply detached. The second category are participants, people who are active citizens and closely watch politics. Now, this is important because these people, have a stake in the political establishment. They are very interested as to what happens politically because they understand that governments impact society. They understand that you are as good as a government as a society. So people are active citizens and closely watch politics, right? They watch politics and they attend events, right? Political events. They attend rallies, political rallies. They vote, certainly, right? They attend town hall meetings held by their politicians. They know who their politicians are and who their representatives are. They know their office numbers, they know their email addresses, and they contact them. They contact them about issues affecting the community. People who are active citizens and closely watch politics. And this is true, especially when it comes to the political season, where if there's an election down the road, they become very active. They participate in many ways. They hold their politicians and their representatives accountable. So let's put that here. They hold their representatives accountable. This is very important to note. And they vote, right? Which is very important as well. And that's how you hold politicians accountable. And that's how you hold government accountable through the ballots. Right? So the first is parochial, the second is participants or participant, the third is subject. People who are passive in the political process, right? They are passive in the political process. They are there, they watch, but they really don't pay close attention and they don't participate, right? They may know what's going on in politics. Unlike the first one, the parochial, these people know what's going on. They read, right, the newspaper. They watch the news, right? They are on social media as well and consuming the news about politics, but they simply don't participate. They don't attend town hall meetings. They don't write to their representatives. They don't vote, right? They don't no votes here, right? Very unlikely to vote because they are passive. They let others determine the state of affairs, the state of political affairs. They say, oh, well, I really don't care. Whatever happens, whoever wins, wins, right? Because I still have my job, I still have my home, I still have my family, and, nothing will really change. So they become passive because sometimes they become discouraged by what has happened in the past. They become discouraged by the attitudes of politicians. They become discouraged by political stagnation in society, and they simply will not participate. They are passive. They may have participated before and have this belief that their votes don't count. And so they take themselves out of the equation. Right? So understanding these categories is critical to understanding the concept. Students, please pay close attention to this. Understanding the concept of political culture. The parochial, the participant, and the subject. The parochial simply don't care. They've never cared. They have no concept of politics. They just exist in society. They participate in other things. They may be religious. They may be involved economically, invest in the stock market and so forth, but they simply don't give any care to politics. The participants, they are very active, and politicians and governments ought to worry about this group of people because they are the ones that have the power to vote out politicians. They have the power to vote in politicians. They are active citizens and they closely watch politics. And then the subject, people who are passive in the political process. Now, again, passive doesn't mean that they don't know what's happening. Please take note of this distinction, students. Passive doesn't mean that they don't know what's happening. They know what's happening, but they simply have chosen not to participate, not to say anything. And sometimes they have so much apathy, and they say, well, those are politicians. What is new? What do we expect? And they just not participate in the system. So now let's look at this a bit more closely. All right. So here it says again, once again, political culture, citizens lack knowledge, interest in political input and output, right? They lack knowledge. Again, take note of this. They lack knowledge. Again, they lack knowledge out of choice. Sometimes their level of education may not be such that encourages them to participate in the political process or to understand what's going on politically. So, parochial political culture, citizens lack knowledge, interest in political input and output. When it comes to participants, awareness of the process, citizens believe in the right to participate, right? In the right to participate in the political process. And this is where they vote. So when it comes to participants, there is awareness of the process. Awareness of the process, citizens believe in the right to participate. Believe in the right to participate. And they do participate. They vote, they write to their representatives, right, as we said earlier, and they hold them accountable. That's very important. They hold them accountable. And finally, the subjects, there is awareness of the process, but citizens are less passive participants, right? So perhaps they've had an experience that discourages them from further participating in the political process. They have apathy, right? They have apathy. They are simply not interested, right? So lack of interest, right? And that's what these folks are known for. And so when we talk about political culture, we are talking about these different categories of citizens and their attitude towards politics.